let's just make it fairly obvious here that it's not closed. And you go to extruded boss base and you see that, you see thin feature, you know what's happening. You didn't quite close your shape. You need to go back in and edit that text. So be aware of that. Actually, I use thin features purposely all the time, but when they show up on you, not intentionally, you've got to go back and look at your geometry, and this one's an obvious gap here. Sometimes, we talked about trim last week, right? Sometimes you wind up with a situation like this. I'm making it fairly exaggerated so you can see, and I go to extrude it, and it doesn't appear to be doing anything, but it has, that's not the right word, it wakes up this box down here called selected contours. Selected contours is something else I want to talk about, and it happens when you've got geometry that kind of needs to be trimmed. What it's seeing here, it sees a shape, a closed shape in here, and it sees these extra lines and it thinks, oh, thin feature. Again, doesn't know which to give you. Okay? So, that's one situation where it'll wake up that selected contours. And in this case, if I didn't want to go in and trim that, I could simply click inside this shape and say, that's the portion that I want to extrude. That's what selected contours is all about. So if you see that wake up, just cancel it. If I go to extruded boss base and you see that field highlighted in blue, before normally it was kind of hidden. See that show up and highlighted in blue, you know you've probably got a trimming problem. But there may be also times, let me go ahead and trim this, where I've got a line, let's say, bisecting this. You might notice, it's giving me a little bit of a clue here, in the fact that this line is thinner than those on the outside. That's kind of telling me I've got more information than this thing needs. If I go to extrude it, it wakes up that selected contours, and I can pick one or both if I want to. But probably doesn't make much sense for me to create a sketch where I pick both. But watch this. Make that just a little bit thicker so you can see it. Click OK, and now I've used one portion of the sketch. You can see this sketch, and it's kind of got a little different look to that sketch. See if I've got another part open where you can see. The way sketches normally look is that sketch symbol with the pencil inside of it. But if I go back to that one I was just creating, look at the sketch. It's got a contour, no pencil inside of it. That tells me I'm using a selected contour from that sketch. Now I can also borrow that sketch. I'll go select it again and create, just with it selected, another extrusion. This time I'm going to pick this portion of it and make it a little bit shorter. Click OK. So I did use the same sketch twice. You'll notice that both those extrusions have used the same sketch. Now they've got a little hand holding that sketch. It's called a derived sketch. I'm not sure that it's really important that you remember that word, derived sketch, but we borrowed a sketch from one feature and used it on another one. We derived it from the first one. So, it is possible to use one really complicated sketch and make multiple features from it, but I don't generally recommend that. I recommend that you normally make separate features with separate sketches. But this is a situation where you might use the same sketch twice. So what I want you to do is, you can try thin feature with an open shape if you wish. I want you to get used to that notion that if you've got, say, not trimmed, that it's going to force you into a selected contour. Really, the most important thing for you to know is when you have a sketch that has multiple closed shape or contours and you go to make a feature of it, it's going to wake up the selected contour option. So in this case, I just used that one sketch twice. That might be one to experiment with, just to get to know the selected contour. And again, remember, if you have an open shape, it's going to default the thin feature every time. All right. So give that selected contours a try. See if you can recreate that. We're